Will do, thanks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're trying, sir.
Commissioner Moss. Laura.
Leave her. Leave her. Stop. Sorry to hear that. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Welcome to the Tuesday, November 7th, 2023, Indian River County Board of County Commissioners meeting. We will start off with a moment of silent reflection for our first responders and members of the armed forces with an invocation given by the Deacon Wilford Hart of the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church, and then with a pledge of allegiance given by Commissioner Darrell Laura. Would everybody please rise?
Let's pray. Father God in heaven, we come before you this morning just to thank you. Father God, we just ask that you invite the Holy Spirit into this place so that you can use us for your glory. Father God, you have 5 commissioners that sit up there and that are doing your job, Father God, and we just ask that you continue to bless them, to do your will, not their will, but your will be done. We just ask also, Father God, that we would put love in our heart for one another, forgive us all of our unrighteousness, guide us, and use us for your glory. This is one of the best counties in the country. I've been all over the place working. And Father God, this is one of the best counties that you have given us. And so we're just going to continue to ask that you bless this county and use this county for your glory. Use the people for your glory and your honor. And then, Lord, forgive us all of all our unrighteousness. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Good morning. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everyone. All right, Commissioners, item 4, additions, deletions to the agenda and emergency items. I have a request by Sue Flack, and we only do this for Sue Flack, to move 15B4. We'll move that after consent, and 15B5 after item 7, which is information not requiring board action. Any other additions, deletions, changes?
Mr. Chair, move approval as amended.
Was it you? She got it. You did? You got it? Okay. All right, a motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to proclamations and presentations. We'll start out on 5A, a presentation of proclamation dedicating November 13th through the 19th as National Apprenticeship Week. This will be presented by Commissioner Fleischer, and Colleen Gill is here to receive. Commissioner Fleischer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And it's my honor and privilege to present this.
Thank you.
I just want to say that apprenticeship comes in many forms today. This nation was built upon apprenticeship for skilled laborers and for trades that had to be made to ensure that we had the right people trained into a program. And it was basically skilled labor.
Right.
Today, apprenticeship is in many, many forms. It's an alternative. It gets people trained to be the very best, but not necessarily in physical labor or higher skilled labor. It is in addition to some of the many professions and has gone into a wide scope. It's an alternative for college, and we get great individuals through apprenticeship. So thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I'm presenting the proclamation dedicating November 13th through the 19th as National Apprenticeship Week. Whereas National Apprenticeship Week raises awareness to the vital role of the registered apprenticeships provide, and they afford the opportunity to earn a steady income while gaining access to the quality jobs in Indian River County and throughout this nation. Whereas registered apprenticeship programs enable employers to develop and train their future workforce while offering a career-seeking individuals the affordable paths to secure a lucrative job. Whereas Indian River County recognizes that the role of registered apprenticeships in expanding opportunities in our workforce and are inclusive of all individuals regardless of age, race, gender, disability, or socioeconomic background. Apprentices provide essential services and contribute to America's key industries. And whereas registered apprenticeships provide young adults with access to stable and long-term careers. In addition, registered apprenticeships address some of the nation's pressing workforce challenges, such as rebuilding our country's infrastructure and undertaking critical supply chain demands. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that we do hereby declare this week of November 13th through the 19th as National Apprenticeship Week, duly adopted this 7th day of November, 2023, and it is signed by all 5 county commissioners. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much, Commissioners, for recognizing next week as National Apprenticeship Week. My name is Colleen Gill. I'm the Apprenticeship Navigator for CareerSource Research Coast. We serve Indian River, St. Lucie, and Martin counties, and we connect employers and job seekers at no cost to either party. Apprenticeship is a combination of paid on-the-job training and on-the-job training and related technical instruction to prepare highly skilled workers. Once established, apprenticeship programs reduce turnover rates, they increase productivity, lower the cost of recruitment, and increase safety in the workplace and on the job site. Apprentices can be new hires, or businesses can select current employees to join apprenticeship programs, moving them up through the ladder within the business. Apprenticeship enables employers to take an active role in shaping the talent they need while creating a culture of ongoing learning and innovation. If anyone would like to know more about apprenticeship, they can feel free to contact me at CareerSource Research Coast in the St. Lucie West office. We have 7 apprenticeships that we sponsor and offer, including 3 tech apprenticeships and an industrial manufacturing technician apprenticeship. And I can also meet with businesses to create a customized apprenticeship for your business. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you. Awesome job.
Thank you.
Photo bombers back there.
We'll get another one up here.
Okay. You can go over there now. And you can go center stage after you run the gauntlet. Thank you.
Thanks for not blinking.
Got a purchase photographer to go through the program? Thank you.
All right, next we have item 5B. It's a proclamation recognizing the week of November 15th to the 22nd, 2023 as Farm City Week. And this will be presented by our Vice Chairwoman, Susan Adams, and presented at Andrea Lazaria and the rest of the crew over at the IPAS.
Awesome. I see a lot of my favorite ag ladies up here, so it is definitely a pleasure to read this proclamation recognizing the week of November 15th through the 22nd, 2023 as Farm City Week. Whereas Florida farmers and ranchers help feed the world by producing a bounty of nutritious foods. To do this, they rely on essential partnerships with urban and suburban communities to supply, sell, and deliver finished products to consumers across Florida and around the globe. And whereas rural and urban communities working together have built our nation's rich agricultural resources so that they contribute to the health and well-being of our country and the strength of our economy. And whereas during National Farm City Week, we recognize the importance of this cooperative network. Agriculture and related enterprises employs more than 2 million workers, including farmers and ranchers, shippers, processors, marketers, retailers, inspectors, and others who contribute an annual impact of $149 billion to Florida's economy. And whereas farmers and ranchers preserve freshwater recharge areas, wildlife habitat, and green space as they perform their daily work. Consumers help farm families maintain their superior natural resource conservation practices by purchasing Florida's agriculture products. And whereas Farm City Week activities celebrate the mutually beneficial relationships that support the quality of life we all enjoy. This month, as we gather with family and friends around the Thanksgiving table, we count these relationships among our many blessings. And whereas we commend the many Floridians whose hard work and ingenuity provide us with food abundance and reflect this true spirit of our state and nation. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Board of County Commissioners of Indian River County, Florida, that the board hereby recognizes November 15th through the 22nd, 2023 as Farm City Week throughout Indian River County and encourages all of our citizens to acknowledge and celebrate the achievements of all those who, working together, produce and supply our community, our nation, and the world with an abundance of agricultural products. Adopted the 7th day of November, 2023, and signed by all 5 county commissioners. And ladies, I know you probably have a lot going on this week, so I'll give you an opportunity to talk about that. But I will say I did want to bring one of my chickens in today to help celebrate, but I figured that would be frowned upon, so I just wore some chicken earrings instead. Probably a lot safer, but tell us what you guys got going on.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. We have some chickens out in the lobby that are stuffed, so it'll make up for the live. But my name is Gracie Hendricks. I'm a board member of the Indian River County Farm Bureau Board. I'm joined here today with some lovely ladies also on the board and extension. So just thank you for all your support here today. Your contributions to Farm Bureau, Indian River County, Florida Farm Bureau, and Farm City Week is invaluable. Farm City Week is important to us as Farm Bureau, Indian River County, and it, like you mentioned, promotes the positive relationship between farm families and city residents of Indian River County. As you have hopefully seen as you walked into the lobby, we have a booth out there with plenty of information and ways on how you can support your Indian River County Farm Bureau, even further in Florida Farm Bureau. And we just want to say thank you again for all your time today and your support. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the support you provide to our farmers in the community. It's invaluable.
Thank you very much for reminding us. We still have citrus here. You have a whole basket
Yep.
out there. It
And we'll
looks
pass out
lovely. Delicious. Thank
Yeah.
you.
We'll pass out a few more. This is from a local packing house here in Indian River County. So thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
keep my eyes off. We might have to get somebody to.
All right, we have no minutes for today, but we'll move on to item 7. And when you'll come up for thing, we'll talk about the Thanksgiving Day schedule. Just do that, we'll just do that all at one time. The venue calendar, again, is full from the Recreation Department and all that sort of good stuff going on, especially over Thanksgiving. And there is a notice of extension for contract construction required for roadway improvements, and the notice of extension contract for more roadway improvements on that. Let's move on to something very important, I feel, and that's Operation Green Light. And I know that Colonel Tony Young is here, and he'd like to say a few words about this. What we're going to do, y'all, is right after we do the green light. I'm sorry. We'll talk about the green light first, and welcome, Colonel.
Good morning to y'all. If you can put that up on the screen there. Last night, waiting for it to come up. There you go. Sharon and I were busy. There you go. We got the green light on 2204 Vero Beach Avenue. So thank you for making the opportunity to bring attention to the veterans and what they do. I was unfamiliar with it until this year, and with the Operation Greenlight, Melissa Arndt reached out to me and said, "Hey, Colonel, would you help in that regard?" So I've snapped a picture, and it's out on Instagram to get the word out to the community that the veterans are important. And I want to say thank you to the county for taking the initiative to make it happen. So again, thank y'all.
Operation Green Light fits in well. It's in support of our veterans. And green, I would say, is probably more related to the Army, right, sir?
It represents all branches, but we know it all started with the Army.
The Colonel can appreciate that, too. Absolutely, absolutely. All right, now moving on to 15B5, residential paper shredding event.
Mr. Chairman?
Somebody else wants to say something?
I just
Sorry,
wanted
go
to,
ahead. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to cover something, because last year, Mr. Mike Zito and Beth Powell worked diligently to get Operation Greenlight up and running, and could we just, what are we doing this year?
Want to say something, Mike? I'm sorry.
I just,
Thank you. As we did last year, we'll be lighting up the fairgrounds in green and also this campus. And then at the IG, the red just drowns it out, so we do something special on the e-board to commemorate Operation Greenlight. So thank you very much.
and you worked hard to get donations with the lights and everything? And
Yes,
it
all the lights were donated and installed by our Parks Division. And
Thank
our
you.
facilities team, yeah.
So we're going to look forward to a green building.
Yeah, wonderful.
you.
And this is an initiative that started with the National Association of Counties, came to my attention attending an annual conference out there, and it's a wonderful tribute to the veterans. Thank you.
Until we get them up, then they can all pass by Tony's house.
We'll put his on.
Thank you, Commissioner Fleischer.
I just
All
want,
right, 15B5, residential paper shredding event on November 18th.
Good morning, Sioux Flax Solid Waste Disposal District. So yes, we are very, very excited about our upcoming paper shredding event. It will be on Saturday, November 18th at Southeast Secure Shredding from 8 a.m. till noon. Last spring, we had over 500 cars. 300 of those were in the first hour. So it's a very busy event. Our residents look forward to it, and we're excited that they can bring up to 3 boxes or 3 bags weighing 35 pounds each to be securely shredded for free on site. All material is recycled into toilet paper, actually, so that's a good thing. And we are also just thankful that Waste Management is helping to cover the cost for this event. So we're excited to work with them as partners. That's it.
Where's it going to be at again?
Southeast Secure Shredding, which is located at 3910 US Highway 1.
an excellent job.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Talk about the Thanksgiving Day schedule for...
Sure. So yeah, that's an event in itself. There will, the landfill and all 5 convenience centers will be closed on Thanksgiving Day. And there will be some schedule changes and obviously some disruption to service for residents. So we encourage them to either call us and we can give you the changes, or get on to our website. They will all be there. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Don't go too far away. Right after consent, we'll do the other one.
Okay.
All right, Commissioners, anything further on that? Any further questions of Sue and Himanshu? All right, moving on to item 8, consent agenda. Commissioners, anything you wish to have pulled to discuss?
I'd like to pull 8N, as in Nancy.
In November.
Anything else? Anything else? Anybody from the public wish to have anything pulled from the agenda for discussion on their consent? Seeing none,
Mr.
Commissioners?
Chair, move approval as amended.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Moss to approve the consent agenda. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 8N, approval of the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee 2023 Incentives Review and Recommendation Report Resolution. And Madam Vice Chairman.
Thank you. I just wanted to pull this to highlight that the AHAC has done their incentives report. I want to thank staff for putting together a really awesome package. Chris has done a great job in shepherding that through the AHAC process. Excited about a couple of new programs that'll be rolling out, either already or shortly. And then next year, the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, we actually gave everybody some homework. They brought us back some suggested incentives that have worked in other places. So we'll be exploring those to start adding additional incentives to our package. But I just wanted to highlight for the commissioners that we do get a lot of calls from other areas in the state looking at our incentives package because they are trying to model some of the things that we're doing. So I think that that's a really good indication that we're on the right track here with our affordable housing program. So I just want to thank them again. And Chris, did you want to add anything? I didn't mean for you guys to come rushing in. I probably scared you when I pulled it, so I apologize.
Sure. I just want to talk about one of the incentives that other areas are looking at. The Tampa Bay area, actually, a couple cities in the actual Tampa Bay area has called for our impact fee waiver program, and that was one of the big things that they were looking into. So they've actually modeled their program to what we've done, and we've been in close contact with them, how it's working, how it's been able to provide. One of our biggest users of that program is Habitat for Humanity, and that enables them to keep their price points in line for affordability. And then just for the SHIP program in general, since the program's inception in 1992, we've spent $22.5 million and been able to help that many people. And our program also has income by repayments, and we've gotten $8.6 million. And just alone this year, we've helped 27 families. So last year, we did a total of 18 for the whole year. We've done 27, and it just started in June. So that's just something I wanted to highlight. And I wanted to thank my staff for just their amazing, incredible ability and how quickly they've been able to process all of the people. So.
Yeah, I do want to point out, as Chris said, thank you for highlighting that. 27 families we've helped since June is an amazing number. And they recently implemented some new program and software that will enable us to move through those SHIP applications faster and more efficiently. So the quicker we can get some of that money out on the street to our families in need, the better. But I just wanted you guys to kind of know what we were doing at AHAC. Thanks staff for all the hard work. Thank Chris for putting up with the AHAC committee and help shepherding us through. But with that, I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Adams, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, 15B4. This is the lease of the solid waste disposal district property to Halley Engineering Contractors for the widening of Oslo Road and the I-95 interchange. Himanshu.
Good morning, Commissioners. Himanshu Mehta, Managing Director of Solid Waste Disposal District. As you know, Halley Engineering has been contracted by DOT for the long-awaited interchange at I-95 and Oslo Road. They're also doing the widening of Oslo Road as well. Haley reached out to us. They would like to lease 2 acres of SWID property there on Oslo Road for a staging area. We have, per your direction back in August, we have negotiated a lease agreement with them and basically asking for approval today. The lease is through September 30, 2027 or sooner if the project is done earlier. The lease amount is $600 a month. The only caveat that we do have for them is we do use a portion of that property for hurricanes as a debris site. And so if there was a hurricane during this 4-year period, then we would be able to utilize that property as well. If you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Mr. Chair, move approval.
A motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Lohr. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 10. This will be public items. The first public item, 10B1, request for public discussion by Mr. Doug Demuth, reference to City of Vero Beach wastewater treatment plant costs. Doug, welcome. Just name and address again for the record, please, sir.
Yes, good morning. My name is Doug Demuth, and I'm at 1804 East Sandpoint Place in Vero Beach, out on the island, in the unincorporated area of Indian River County. So, thank you for listening to me this morning. Let's talk about fairness. I've been a former Rotarian in a number of different locations. I was inducted in Hershey, Pennsylvania originally. Was part of the Rotary Club of Cary, North Carolina, and in Winnetka, north of Chicago. In all of those locations, to start our meetings, we always went through the four-way test. So let me repeat that. The four-way test for Rotary is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I think those are great lines and probably ought to be taken to heart probably after the Pledge of Allegiance at this organization. Fairness is perhaps the single most important requirement for people to bond together behind a common government and respect those who are elected to represent them. Without the assumption that our governments are fair arbiters between the mighty and the powerful and those they would take advantage of, we become oppressed and feel cheated. We also look for alternatives. All we need is to look to Washington these days to see a two-tiered justice system, an executive branch ignoring laws to suit their own ends, and the divisiveness it brings. It was simple fairness that we were seeking last year when we brought to your attention that the residents of unincorporated South Beach had been without a renewed water and wastewater franchise agreement since 2017. We asked for the opportunity to sit down with the county staff and draft an agreement that would be fair to both ourselves and the city of Vero Beach. Failing that, we asked that the cost to convert us to the South County Wastewater Treatment Plant be revised from its 2009 $9 million estimate to more fully evaluate our alternatives. As you will recall, this was denied us, and by a 3-2 vote, this board forced us into a 30-year franchise agreement provided to you by the city of Vero Beach without amendment. In doing so, no caps on rate increases were implemented, and no transparency to what our rate increases could become were provided. We found that not only had the cost of the city's new wastewater treatment plant been grossly underestimated, but that it would far exceed our best guesses. A short 3 months after, they implemented a 42% increase in our rates based on an $82 million capital cost. They received a revised estimate topping $132 million in June, but failed to tell anybody about it until Mayor John Cotugno mentioned it at a Taxpayers Association meeting in September. Now, just last week, he stated that this figure could be as high as $150 million. As far as we know, his latest figure does not include demolition and remediation of the old plant, nor transition and startup costs for the new ones. Those are not included in the cost estimates he's been receiving, and he has not disclosed those to us. So let's take a look at what the 2,000 homeowners living in unincorporated South Beach area now face. Can we go to the slides, please? The first one, please. So here's their cost estimate provided in June, and the note from Rob Bolton stating that the estimate was going to go from $124 million to something north of 132. So that's all documented, and that was in June. Could you please go forward? So what I've done is constructed a timeline. And so let's go back 2 years when Monty Falls indicated that the new wastewater treatment plant was going to be $51 million. Okay, and at that point, a group of us from unincorporated South Beach came to you guys and asked for some help in putting together what our alternatives would be and taking a look at the assumptions built into the City of Vero Beach's cost estimates. At that point, nothing was done. The staff did not listen to us. They did not get back to us. They would not respond to us. So in September of 2022, a bit over a year ago, the water and sewer rates were said to be able to jump 15% to pay for the $82 million wastewater reclamation plant. That was in TC Palm. Again, that was not released by City of Vero Beach. I'm not sure where TC Palm got their information. Then in December of last year, I came before you and asked that we convene a blue ribbon staff and citizens committee investigating the City of Vero Beach's project cost and rate estimates. I suggested that the Indian River County 6% franchise fee either be capped or eliminated for the unincorporated areas since our rates were going to considerably rise. I asked that Indian River County staff work with the county residents to investigate connecting to the South Plant water system. I requested that the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners take action to stop excessive profit payments to the City of Vero Beach and those that they extract from the unincorporated residents of South Beach. And again, the Board of County Commissioners and the staff did nothing. Would not sit down and listen to us, would not talk to us, would not work with us to put together a fair and reasonable cost estimate and or proposal for the City of Vero Beach. Then in January of last year, South Beach residents were presented with the City of Vero Beach proposed new franchise agreement, raising our rates 42%. Can you go to the next one, please? On January 13th, South Beach residents met with Commissioner Ehrman over the egregious franchise terms, and we asked for a delay on the 117 vote to work with the staff on changes, amendments, and negotiating strategies. Again, that was denied to us. It fell on deaf ears. On 117, by a 3-2 vote, Commissioners Ehrman, Adams, and Moss voting for the affirmative, the Board of County Commissioners accepted the City of Vero Beach's franchise agreement without unincorporated resident inputs. On February 23rd, or in February of this past year, City of Vero Beach instituted that 42% rate increase based on an $82 million project cost, not including the startup costs I mentioned, and not including the demolition and remediation of the old plant. In June of this past year, as I mentioned, City of Vero Beach's construction engineers revised that estimate up to over $132 million. And that was not provided to the public. It was in September of this past year that Mayor John Contubno, at a Taxpayers Association meeting, mentioned that the new project was going to be over $132 million, a 65% increase from the $82 million used in the February estimates. Again, it does not include startup costs, nor the cost of demolition and remediation of the old plant. We've estimated that startup and demolition and remediation costs are likely to run another 25%, or something in the vicinity of about $30 million. And those estimates come from what typically corporate America uses when they go to estimate things of this nature. Can you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. So if you look at the chart above, we start at $132 million. We typically estimate a demolition and remediation cost of old facilities to be about 10% of the capital project. So that's $13 million. Startup costs typically are another 10%. So that's another $13 million. And I've been very generous on contingency associated with this because that's typically another 10%. I just made it 5%. And with a very sharpened pencil, corporate America does it that way. So you're talking about another $30 million on top of the $132 that the mayor has met, well, not the most recent, but that Monty Falls and Rob Bolton put out there. So that's $160 million for this new plant. So what we did, and I built these numbers prior to the latest mentioning of last week of $150 million being the new number. So this does not include those additional funds. So basically our plant went from $50 million to $82 million to $160 million. Now we know it's going to be more like $180 million or more. That's a capital up to $160 million, was a 95% increase over the previous estimate. And so calculating what our bills are going to go from is the next line. We were at about $50 for a 5,000 gallon user prior to any of this. We went to almost $71, and these are coming from my bills for a 5,000 gallon user. And now we're projecting something well over $114 million, or $114 per bill. Probably higher because we're basing this on a $60 million estimate, and we now know it's probably going to be something around $180 million. So that's another 62% increase over the 42% increase we took in February if they're going to maintain the same bond structure that they currently have. And by the way, keep this in mind. They have 18% increases due next year and the following year on top of all of this to maintain their bond estimates. So let's take a look at some of the damage this causes. Remember, keep in mind that we have a subterfuge by the City of Vero Beach where they call it a one-rate program, but what they do is they charge everybody the same thing, but the monies that come in from unincorporated Vero Beach or unincorporated South Beach go into paying their overhead and for services that we don't get. So there is a gap here, a profit margin effectively for them. And so what's that going to do? Well, let's see. If this gets to $160 million, we're looking at the unincorporated area of South Beach paying something close to $1 million a year in profits to support the City of Vero Beach. And by the way, on top of that, by law, they're allowed to institute somewhere between a 25% and 50% surcharge on that, should they like to do that. And I bring that up because the City of Tallahassee does that to people outside of their area. They charge them an extra 50% in a surcharge. So that's taking place in the state capitol. You can imagine it can easily take place here. If you could go to the next slide, please. So where does that place us now in terms of other locations within the state for water and wastewater rates? Well, let's see, at $82 million, we would have been at $70, and that is still, well, let's say originally we were at $50, and that was one of the lowest rates in the state. And I congratulated the city of Vero Beach and Indian River County on being able to operate so efficiently and so well, keeping our rates low. Then when it went to $82 million, it obviously raised a bit and put us sort of somewhere in the mid-range, a little bit lower than the mid-range. But now at $114, it puts us at some of the highest in the state. And again, keep in mind, on top of this, we're going to be seeing 18% increases over the next 2 years, one on top of another. Compounded interest can be a benefit and can be pretty nasty. If you could go to the next slide, please. For wastewater treatment comparisons, I went through and I called out all of the water costs from all these different locations. And again, originally, we were some of the lowest in the state. Only Tampa was lower by a couple of cents, actually $2.19. That's Indian River County, by the way. That's what our rates were locked in at. And now with the $160 million number, not the 180, but the 160, we're going to be some of the highest in the state. We'll be about 92.34. And the only thing higher than that is, as I said, Tallahassee, where they put a 50% surcharge on customers outside of their area. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at what these profits that City of Vero Beach is going to reap look like over a 30-year period. So we project over the next 30 years, South Beach residents, the 2,000 customers out there, will be paying somewhere between $60 and $90 million in profits to the City of Vero Beach's general fund over the next 30 years. That's just unincorporated South Beach. Imagine what happens when our friends over at Indian River Shores get pulled into this. You can double those numbers. So you're looking at something between 120 and $180 million over a 30-year period that are going to be going into the coffers of the City of Vero Beach. What could you have done with that to improve your wastewater systems and water systems in Indian River County if you had connected us? Next slide, please. And here's the sleight of hand and take from one pocket to put into another that City of Vero Beach runs. As I mentioned, there's a one-rate system, and so basically we're paying something in the vicinity of $1 million, and so is City of Indian River Shores. That goes into their general fund, and it goes into subsidizing the City of Vero Beach's residents. City of Vero Beach residents pay the same amount, but it gets bounced back to them in tax reduction. Ours doesn't. We get no services from those folks, nor do we want any, but we have to pay for them. I think it's Stephen Faraday used to say, this is taxation without representation. Next slide, please. Oh, and by the way, could you go back? And what happens? What happens if they decide they're not going to go through with this? If they can't get the bonding for it, are these rates going to go down? Do we get refunded for the monies that they've taken from us? We have no idea, and you guys haven't stood up for us. So the observations. City of Vero Beach has purposely omitted to the wastewater treatment project costs that will impact our rates. As I mentioned, the demolition and remediation of the old plant. With the new cost exceeding $132 million, Indian River County residents or customers are looking at a 50% rate increase on top of February's 42% rate increase. Actually, that's 62%, not 50%. With 18% increases following in years 24 and 25. City of Vero Beach's water and sewer rates to Indian River County customers will skyrocket to some of the highest in the state. This makes connecting, oh, and by the way, there's not, yes, as well, there's nothing that prevents City of Vero Beach from attaching a 50% surcharge to our rates. And this makes a $15 million connecting cost to the South County wastewater treatment plant look pretty reasonable right now, if we were allowed to consider it, if it was still on the table as something that we could do. The Board of County Commissioners owes its customers an answer as to when the rates from the City of Vero Beach will be too high, when you're going to come out in public and state it, and when you're going to look at additional actions to protect us. You are our wholesale water and sewer providers. That is in statute. You need to stand up for us. Next slide, please. So the next steps. Please refrain from making any commitments to the City of Vero Beach on territory or other factors that may inhibit our cost South Beach residents opportunities to reduce their water and sewer bills. Ask the county staff to obtain the City of Vero Beach's model used to calculate new rates and verify figures and report to county residents what their projected rates are going to be. Because the City of Vero Beach will not provide us with that model, and they have not come clean as to what our rates are going to be now that they've been talking about rate increases of plus 132% or 150% that we learned about last week. Or not 150%, but $150 million that we learned about last week. Re-estimate the cost to connect to the South Beach Indian River County system. Remember, that was about a $9 million connection cost. There might have been some upgrades, but geez, based on what we're going to be contributing in profit to the City of Vero Beach, it's going to put money in your pockets and save us as well. Explore cost savings creating a one-county water and wastewater system. I think that's one of the big things that really needs to take place. We need to go back and take a look at that and see what we could do with the monies that are getting plowed into this gold-plated thing that City of Vero Beach is trying to put together. And keep in mind, the reason for this wastewater treatment plant isn't that the old one is used up. No, that was going to cost us, according to the City of Vero Beach, $30 million to rebuild and to upgrade. No. The reason for it is the Three Corners project that they want to build. That's the only reason for this thing. Because as John Cottugno said, who would build a nice hotel overlooking a wastewater treatment plant? Perhaps their visions and dreams of remodeling that area are simply too grand. Perhaps this Board of County Commissioners should state something like that and say to these folks, hey, look what you're doing to our customers, look what you're threatening to do to Indian River County, or Indian River Shores. And this is just becoming egregious. We need these increases to stop. We need to know what these rate increases are going to be so we can tell our customers what's taking place and what we might be able to do about it. I'd also say there's a potential, you would think there might be the potential to go to court to nullify the 2023 franchise agreement that you made because it was made under false pretenses, false assumptions, and false statements. Because as we know, after you agreed to the franchise agreement and they raised our rates 42%, a short, 3 months later? The assumption that the plant was going to cost $82 million went to plus $132 million. You can't tell me that they didn't know that. I'm an engineer. I've done major capital projects. I've built $100 million facilities all over the world for Hershey, Nabisco, Kraft, ConAgra. I've done these projects. Those estimates just don't come out of the box within a 90-day period. They knew it. They've known it all along. They've been slow walking us with bit-by-bit rate increases or bit-by-bit capital cost increases. They've known it. They had to know it. Because there's no way that I could pull that with the chairman of the board of Hershey or Kraft or ConAgra or Nabisco, who I've reported to, and still hold my job. These are what are called in the private sector supplements. You start out with an estimate. You go to the board, you ask for money to estimate the project. You come back, you present it to the board again, the board approves it, and then you go forward. But when you end up having to go forward over top of what you've already gotten approval for, that's called a supplement. Usually in corporate America, maybe you can get one supplement without getting fired. 2, you're gone. And those were the mandates and structure I had to live under for 45 years. So as I said, possibly, and then if in fact we can get this old franchise agreement nullified, then possibly renegotiate a new one with legal rates and cap increases. Next slide, please. So thank you very much for listening. I leave you to figure out what your next steps are. As always, doing nothing is an option, and it seems that's worked for some in the past. I remind you that fairness is a thing that elections are made of, and if you can't trust the government, at least for now, we have periodic elections that can bring change, assuming the elections are fair. Thank you very much.
All right, Commissioners, moving on to the next item, County Administrator's Matters, 11A, World War II tribute request for county funding. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and I'm going to rely on Colonel Young to present most of this, but the World War II tribute team is undertaking a project to honor and pay tribute to our World War II veterans, especially the 42 Indian River County residents that were killed during the war and those who served during that same time. The projects will be located at the Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary, and include a permanent stage and serve as a gathering place for veteran ceremonies and patriotic events. They're requesting $33,750 to help cover the cost for 26 helical piers that will support the structure. And I'll turn it over to Colonel Young, if you're all right with that, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Mr. Chair?
Good morning. I just want to take the opportunity to provide you some updated information as well as to request your support. But to begin with, I'd like to show you what we're speaking of. Kim, if you could put up the image of the tribute. This is a, there you go, hang on. Okay, this is a bird's eye view of the World War II tribute that we are currently working towards providing the city of Vero Beach for Veterans Memorial Island. And I just, as I begin, I just want to say thank you to all of the county commissioners here for supporting the veterans of Indian River County. I think you understand that our county is very veteran-centric, and it means a great deal to everyone that is a part of our community. And I would be amiss if I didn't introduce a couple of people that are here with me. Gold Star family member Phil Canal is here. He lost an uncle aboard a ship en route to the European Theater of Operation when a French aircraft carrier slammed into it and 50 men lost their lives. And fortunately, another 1,500 were scooped out of the water. Also, Carol Oates, who is the past president for the Military Officers Association. And Carol is a fellow Army Medical Department officer and served Began as an enlisted man and completed as a colonel in the Army. And of course, you know Ruth, and I want to mention Ruth because Ruth has come alongside of us and assisted us, because one of the principal objectives of this tribute is simply to share the accounts of the men who gave their lives in Indian River County in our local area during World War II. And if you put up the next slide, the close-up for the tribute, if you would. Okay, if you look at that, where the arrow is, if you can wiggle that, bring it down, there you go. On the right-hand side is the kiosk column, and the Indian River Historical Society has teamed with us and is going to pay for a historical marker, which will be on the kiosk. And on the historical marker, you've seen them around town for all the innumerable sites, will be a QR code, and that QR code will link with a video that we are in the process. The Historical Society with Nick Varola is in the process of building right now. And that will be, a glimpse of it will be at the Indian River Historical Society video night on the 14th, Ruth. And I'll share with you, Larry Reisman said, I'm passionate about the veterans on the island, but I'll share with you, once you see these family members, you'll understand my conviction, because we began with the Harlock brothers, and the Harlock brothers, there were two lost in the war. One was lost aboard a submarine that was never located off of Cuba. The second one was lost in Liverpool in an accident there. And the third brother, the third son, came here to Vero because he was a remaining son, and with blackout lights was hit by a train. So that mother literally lost her three sons in World War II, and the two surviving daughters were here, and their nieces now shared with the accounts of that family with the community, and it'll be a part of the kiosk and the bridge that we'll have there. Another one that you may recognize off the top of your head is the Hearst family. And the Hearst family was a POW in the Philippines, and his remains have been recovered, and I expect in the next 60 days, most likely, it will be reinterred here into Whittier Beach. So it'll be a national-wide significant event, but that's a part of our heritage, and it's who we are and what we're about. I also want to mention Bethany Fortunato, who is here, and Bethany's husband is Doc. He managed the clinic and now is opening a practice here locally and is a great American. But some background very quickly. We've been working on this for 18 months. We've raised approximately $300,000. It's $200 in cash, another $30 to $40 in services in kind. And when you say, what are you talking about, Tony? I'm talking about Shulsky, Biddle, and Stoddard doing the structural engineering at no cost. I'm talking about the Sexton, Sharon Sexton, and Glenda Taylor doing a $12,000 tile mosaics for each one of the ribbons for a third of their cost. I mean, it's incredible. And if you would, please put up the image again, please, for me. Okay, if you look at this and you say, well, it's simply a brick and mortar gesture to the World War II veterans. This last weekend, I went to a presentation by Father Dan Leary, and he spoke about the kids that the Sisters of Mercy are taking care of. If you look in the Bible, the seventh beatitude is, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be children of God." The families that come to Veterans Day, to Memorial Day, have an impact on their children. Only 1% of our population at this time serve in the military. The decision that we make today have an impact on the future. This tribute, which will recognize the World War II veterans and also serve as a teaching point for our children, will pay interest in the future years, because this will be here, a legacy to Indian River County and to our community for the next 3 decades easily. So I want to again say we need your help. This is a very straightforward proposal that's been provided to you for the helical piers that provide the foundation, the supporting structure for the foundation. And lastly, in the 18 months, we have made a friendship with a good number of existing World War II veterans. And there are 3 that are very close to us. Harold Granicher, you may know that name. He was in Europe, 2 Purple Hearts. Bill Keegan, who is an Army medic in Europe, helped liberate one of the concentration camps, providing evacuation with his ambulance. And the third is Chuck Picard, who is a Marine that was on the island of Tinian, where the 2 bombers left with the Enola Gay and ended the Battle of the Pacific. So we're under a commitment to the public to move forward with this, and our hope is to get this completed. We want to reach out, and that's what I would really appreciate your support for, is to all of the people that you know, to ask them to come forward and support us as well, because that's the way that this will be accomplished. And we would like to have it for our children and for the men that are still here. So, questions?
Ms. Chair? Ms. Chair?
This is a true tribute, and it's a legacy that will stand, and I believe that we should stand with it, and I'm prepared to move to approve it after discussion. If there are any questions of you.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, and thank you. I think Colonel Young has made a fine presentation, but I still think it was a little short. You may think it was lengthy, it was short, because there are so many individuals stepping up to the plate.
Without a doubt.
And the fundraising, I am thoroughly impressed with the amount of fundraising that's taking place to get this mission accomplished.
With the outreach to the community, one of the most significant, without a doubt, was an initiative with Bethany and Jeff Palashi. And I failed miserably because I didn't bring a bottle of bourbon to show you all. But it sounds extraordinary, because it is extraordinary, because Jeff donated at cost a barrel of his fine whiskey bourbon. And with that, we were able to raise close to 30,000, I would imagine. Yeah, easily. So I just want to say thank you to the businesses that have come alongside of us. Again, this last weekend, the Gold Star Mothers had a walkathon for suicide awareness. An incredible group. They've contributed to it. The Veterans Council of Indian River County have as well. You just turn right and left, the Post 39 American Legion in town. This weekend, St. Helens is going to have a fall festival. Father Matt and the board has agreed to acknowledge the tribute with a donation from that fall festival for $5,000. And all of these things go towards making this a reality. The bridge, I need to mention the bridge. Jonathan, who is with the foundation, not the foundation, the business that's building it, the engineering firm, Coastal Foundations Incorporated, has listened to my plea. The bridge, you will be walkable by the end of this week.
Yes.
Okay. All of the fine tuning will be done, contract in by Pearl Harbor Day. So the Lord willing, if we have the founding, which is what we're striving for now, which is top priority, we can begin work, in January. And if we have the funding, that's the limiting factor right now. We could have it built as soon as Memorial Day. But again, I am dependent upon the community and our organizations to continue the support.
You know, we only have a few handfuls of great individuals that served in World War II. I know that many of us
No, it's the,
lost the ones.
the video that will be available at the kiosk interviewed the three men that I shared with you that are current World War II veterans. We met with the family of Hazel Metz Gerbhardt. And Reverend Gerbhardt was the minister for the Lutheran Church here. Hazel was a school teacher in Ohio who realized that she needed to do something in support of World War II. She came here, and she was out at the airfield. She provided the overwatch for the aircraft as they did their training. And as it turned out, in the video, her son shares that Hazel and he went to Pearl Harbor, and he didn't understand the significance of his mom's service as a Navy wave until she was in tears from the casualties of Pearl Harbor. And as it happened, the family before Hazel was Leon Barnwell. His dad was lost in Pearl Harbor. So unbeknownst to the two families, that communion was there. So that the more we can share the account of the veterans, the more we will have people stand up and be ready to defend our liberties, which unfortunately in these day and age could happen tomorrow. And without them, we would be in very difficult situation.
I would love for the surviving individuals that are here with us to be able to see this day to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Many of them are 95 to 100 years of age. And again, you mentioned Pearl Harbor. If you recall, just right before, I guess it was about 8 months ago, when we had a discussion about Pearl Harbor Day, that we don't do something on Memorial Island. And I urged the Veterans Council, it moved forward, and there will be
Amen.
a Pearl
Right.
Harbor event. The downside to that was, as that discussion was made, the very next day, the last surviving Pearl Harbor survivor has passed. So, but we will be reminded of what the sacrifice was, and that's what's going to happen here with this monument as well. Also, it's got a great utility purpose too.
Yeah.
So we're honored to support, Colonel.
Well, thank you. We have family members, and I know you have two family members, and we have Sailors in Harm's Way with the two carrier groups in the Mediterranean, and you have airmen and soldiers in harm's way in the sandbox. So all of this comes together.
Commissioners, any further questions? Tony or
Susan?
County Administrator or anything? All right, with that being said, Commissioner Moss.
Yes, move to approve.
I think we did that already.
Yep,
We did.
I got it, I took it.
Yeah.
I took it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did it.
We can do it together. I'll let you have it, sir.
Let's do it.
I'll
Let's
let you-
do it.
No problem. All right,
No, you, I mean,
have a motion from Commissioner Moss, second by Commissioner Fleischer. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0, sir.
We know that that was going to be a 5-0.
Mr. Chair? Thank you very much. Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
if I may, I would just like to say Happy Veterans Day to all of our veterans, including our county administrator, who's an Army Ranger, which is a very elite force, in case anyone doesn't know. But thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you for the work you do in the community. And we will have Veterans Day ceremonies coming up this Saturday. That's at 9 a.m., right, at Riverside, and 11 a.m. at Riverview in
Correct.
Sebastian. Is
Correct.
that correct, Colonel?
And the ceremony because the bridge is not completed, will be on Riverside Park by the,
Pavilion,
what do you call it?
Pavilion.
Gazebos?
the Grand Pavilion,
Grand Pavilion.
right.
Okay. And look forward to seeing you all there. This Veterans Day will be important, without a doubt. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Administrator, we got time for a break. Is that going to inflict your schedule that you have to be at?
I think we'd be good. Thank you for your consideration. We're good.
Let's take a 10-minute break real quick. right, everybody, welcome back. Before we move on to 12E1, we're going to turn it over to our counselor for just a minute to introduce one of our new counselors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have the pleasure of introducing Mr. Keith Jackman, who comes to us from the west side of Florida. Keith has come to us from the federal government. He's got a good background with federal government, also good appellate experience. He's got family on this side of the coast, and I'm very pleased to bring him on board. Keith, anything you want to say? The podium is yours.
Oh, well, thank you very much, Bill, for welcoming me on, and also the board as well for welcoming me, making me feel very welcomed here. I plan on doing the best I can and using my past experience and the guidance of the county attorney to get things done. Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome aboard,
Welcome.
Keith.
We're pleased to have you.
Glad to have you. Counselor,
Thank you.
excellent choice. Been familiar with Keith for quite some time, and
It's true.
you chose very carefully.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm happy he accepted.
Yeah. I met this guy like 20 years ago.
I know, and he's still the same.
Yes,
He was a little younger then, though.
Yeah. So were you.
Okay, I was too.
Thank you.
Have a great one.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 12E1, Sector 3 Hurricanes Ian and Nicole Dune Renourishment Project. Mr. Charis, welcome.
Good morning. Eric Charis, Interim Natural Resource Director for Indian River County under the new Department of Natural Resources. What I'm bringing to you today is a staff recommendation for an award of bid for your consideration. What we have is our Sector 3 project based on the impacts from Hurricanes Ian and Nicole, which Nicole was just about a year ago today. I think it's a year ago in Thursday, I think, when we actually did feel the impacts from her. But we did suffer significant erosion losses throughout much of the county's coastline. What we're talking about today, though, is going to be specifically our Sector 3 project area. Hurricane Ian hit the end of September with 11-foot seas, and Hurricane Nicole, like I say, hit on November 10th with 19-foot waves offshore. What was experienced throughout our Sector 3 sector was an average dune retreat of about 21.1 feet. So significant erosional losses there. We brought much of this to the board previous times to kind of give updates as to where we stood in the process. But just as an overview, this is a really good picture that the Coastal Division has taken with its drone. You do see here, this is the Wabasso Beach area before the impacts from Hurricane Ian. Once Hurricane Ian rolled through, you see the dune retreat at that point with a significant escarpment that was left. We observed a lowering of the beach berm as well as the dune retreat. Fast forward another month, we have Hurricane Nicole, and she really wiped out a lot of the dune that was left. So we did suffer significant dune retreat and beach berm lowering. We did some emergency measures after the storm, and the county staff has been working with our coastal engineering consultants as well as the emergency agencies, FEMA, the Division of Emergency Management, as well as the DEP, on what efforts can be done as well as what funding can be secured to assist the county in doing some dune repair efforts throughout our Sector 3 project specifically here. What we have come up with is a project to place about 275,000 cubic yards of sand to basically restore the dune to the pre-Hurricane Ian conditions. We're talking dune only, as that will not re-trigger any clocks for our biological monitoring that we do. If we were to place sand on the beach berm as well, it would restart our clock. The dune-only project is going to give us our biggest bang for our buck as far as giving the protectionary benefits to the upland infrastructure, as well as placing the sand on the beach and giving us what we need for the beach and dune system. In addition to the 275,000 cubic yards, when we do these projects, we do also add native salt-tolerant dune plants. This project would add about 730,000 salt-tolerant plants to the dune system. The plants are very instrumental in a mitigating effort to, with their root structure to help protect the dune system once it is restored. So it does take a little while for these plants to grow, but based on the aggressive root structure they have, we do have survival and growth requirements that are monitored, and within, like I say, a 3-month period of time after the storm, we expect to see root growth of about 18 inches into the dunes. So multiply that by years down the road, and those dune plants do a phenomenal job of adding protection to the dunes. Sector 3 is about 6.6 miles in length, ranging from about a half mile north of Treasure Shores to about a half mile south of Turtle Trail. We kind of just called out a lot of the county beach parks that are included in the area, but there's also a lot of upland infrastructure that will be protected by the dune system as well. For the project here, we went out to bid. We did work with our coastal engineering consultant. We had designs that we've used. We've been permitted for this site. We maintain 15-year permits through the Army Corps of Engineers as well as through the DEP. So we're ahead of the game on that. We did reach out to those agencies in pre-construction meetings, if you would, and determined what approach would be the best for the county to take at this point. And that's where we've determined that a dune-only restoration project is what is called for in this area. When we did open the bid, after about 30 days on the streets, we did receive 7 responsive bidders. County staff and our coastal engineering consultants reviewed the qualifications and the submittals from each one of these applicants and determined that Dickerson Infrastructure was our lowest responsible bidder at $13 million, approximately $13 million. We did see ranges of the bids from a low of Dickerson to a high of a little over $23 million, so there was quite a range in those. And this one did come in lower than what our engineer's estimate was for the project. This was very good to see something come in lower than what an estimate was at this point. So, if this bid does get approved by the board here, what we'd be looking at would be a anticipated construction timeframe for our construction activities to start this November. We are outside of the bulk of sea turtle nesting season, and we are working with coordinated efforts with Fish and Wildlife on when we can start a project. We do have a concern of late season nesting sea turtles. Even though the bulk of the sea turtle nesting is completed by October 31st, you do have those late season nests that are laid, and they take anywhere from 65 to 75 days to hatch. So even though we're not seeing much new in the way of new nests on the beach, there are nests that exist out there. And again, I think we've brought it on numerous occasions. Only a small percentage of the nests are actually marked. So it is a concern. We've worked with FWC and have been organizing with them since late September on giving us a clear beach to work on, which would allow us to start our activities here in late November. We start those activities, it's anticipated that we'd be able to complete our 275,000 cubic yard project by the April 2024 timeframe. Again, the county has offered a little bit more leeway in construction timeframe because we have so many permit restriction and requirements in there for the sea turtle protection monitoring. Most construction activities on the beach have to end at the end of February in advance of sea turtle nesting season, but we're allowed to do a little bit later based on our extensive monitoring and permit requirements we have. To kind of touch upon the funding, I did have it in the agenda item, but I did want to touch upon this a little bit. We are anticipating about $9.5 million in funding being made available for this project. That comes from FEMA, the Department of Environmental Protection, or under a Hurricane Ian and Nicole grant that the county has already been notified of receiving, as well as the Department of Emergency Management funding coming from that. We'll let you know all of this funding is reimbursement funding. There is nothing up front. The county spends it, and then we seek reimbursement on it. So that out of a $13 million project would leave about $3.5 million for the county to fund under its local option source tax. We did bring before the board here back in late June, I believe, an option for the county to apply for additional funding through the Department of Environmental Protection's local government funding request. That funding application has been submitted. The department has reviewed its initial swath of it. They are completing their reviews of that. We hope to know, I would say, hopefully by the end of November, early December, if the county is going to be the recipient of that. What that would do would be to split the county's cost with the state. So we could theoretically reduce the county's cost in this project to about $1.8 million should we get that grant. If that grant is awarded to the county, we will bring it back before the board here for acceptance and definitely, make you guys aware of what the grant is for. So, At this point, though, based on the review that the staff has performed, we're recommending to the board that the board approve the Sector 3 Hurricane Ian and Nicole Dune Restoration Project to Dickerson Infrastructure, doing business as Dickerson, Florida, in the amount of $13,078,244.36.
Any questions of staff?
Mr. Chair?
Nope.
First off, I want to thank you and the staff for working diligently to ensure that we've qualified or we in the right pathway for all the reimbursement. I know it's an arduous task, and it's a definitive projection to get there, and it's a lot of hard work, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You mentioned about the late turtle nesting season and what we have in existence. FWC does a full scan. They use sonar to
We actually,
identify as well for us?
the county actually, as part of our habitat conservation plan, as well as post-construction monitoring for some of our projects, we actually monitor the coastline of the county. We have sea turtle surveyors that go out there on a morning basis and identify the nesting sea turtles, with a subset of them selected for ongoing data collection activities. But those activities have taken place since the start of sea turtle nesting season and continue in advance of an upcoming project. There is a partnership effort. We do receive some of that data from a portion of the project that is monitored by Disney Properties, as well as a portion of the project area that is handled through the Sebastian Inlet District's monitoring efforts that they do in a coordination with their dune renourishment activities that they perform up there as well.
Well, I would hope that they can identify as
Yes.
much as possible.
And we have. We actually have started at the end of September. We've identified a work area for our contractor, starting in the northern part of our Sector 3 project, if it gets approved. Our contractor and our beaches have been cleared basically from north of Treasure Shores down to the Wabasso Beach area. So we would anticipate, and that's the guidance we've given our contractor, is if we do get the go-ahead from the board, the pre-construction meeting and the pre-bid meetings have identified a work structure starting in the northern part of the county working down. With that approach, by the time our contractor would get down to the second half of the project, if you would, from Wabasso Beach south, any late season turtle nests would have cleared naturally anyways, based on the delay of construction activities we would see.
Because you mentioned that we only had a small portion identified, and I didn't want anybody to have the perception that we would have turtle nests entombed or...
Oh, no. We've cleared, we've been working closely with FWC.
Very closely and-
Yeah, and on that. So again, we have a large stretch of constructible beach that is cleared for ongoing construction activities to start late November, early December.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I'd like to move approval on it.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Moss. I do have a quick question. Does the bid include 700,000 plus plants?
Yes. That is part of our requirement, and then there is a survival and growth requirement on those plants. So once those plants are installed, we do continue our monitoring of the growth on those in a subset of the plants, and should either one of our growth or survival metrics not be met, we do require the planter to go back out there and fulfill their obligations. It's a four, just on a side note, we use about 4 different species of plants. Bulk of them will be sea oats, with the minority of them being made up of basically like a panic grass, railroad vine, and like a beach elder type thing, so.
Now, what do you do with the turtles? You said okay, let's say this is gonna start next week. The turtles' nests that are already there, you mark them, or do you redo the eggs and take them someplace else?
If there would be any active turtle nests in the area, we would mark for avoidance. But again, we've been actually relocating those turtle nests to a non-construction area in accordance with FWC requirements since the end of September. So there is a very strict FWC requirement, which is also one of the reasons why we only asked for a small subset of our project area to be approved relocation for the fact that we know we can't construct a 6.6-mile project all at the same time. So we really wanted to focus on making sure our beaches were clear in an identified area that the contractor could work in. So all of these efforts have been taking place through strict accordance with FWC and DEP guidelines, so.
All right, and Quentin, I know I get this information being on the beach and shores, but you want to let everybody know that the Turtles had a pretty good year?
Would love to. Hello, Commissioners. Quentin Bergman, Coastal Resource Manager. This year, we had a banner year for our sea turtles. Our green turtles broke record, and our loggerheads also broke record. That's coming off of last year's record-breaking season as well. Our leatherbacks broke record, and as well as our green turtles again. So again, wonderful nesting season. We love to see this. I want to see this continue for a couple more seasons, and we're going to be feeling very comfortable. But again, just to reiterate, sea turtles are definitely brought into a lot of consideration with beach renourishment programs like ours. So all of the turtles are protected. None of them are going to be damaged in this project as well.
Thank you. Any further questions? Motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Moss. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Just your name and address, sir.
William Farrell, 10890 North Highway A1A, also called Tuck. Tuck is my nickname, and better than Will Ferrell. Anyway, I got a laugh on that one. Anyway, we want to thank you. I'm president of the North Beach Civic Association, and that's a hat I'm wearing today. And we want to thank the County Commission and all of the county for participating in projects to save the Barrier Island. You know, it's good to protect the beaches because the beaches are a great place for recreation and it's a good part of our economy. But it's so important to protect the dunes and the beaches. And if you protect the dunes, you don't just protect the houses on the beach. It affects everyone. If we start losing houses out there or we start having problems with the dunes and we have overflow or overwash, we could have insurance problems on the Barrier Island, and it can even filter to the Indian River in the county. We don't want overwashes. So I really appreciate all the good things that the county's doing, and we appreciate the County Commission. Everyone on the Barrier Island wants to thank you. You're much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuck. All right, with that, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 12E2, Sector 3, Hurricane Ian and Nicole Dune Renourishment Construction Administration, APTEM Work Order Number 201-800-617. Sheriff.
Good morning. In anticipation of a hopeful recommendation of award being passed by the board, county staff has reached out to our coastal engineering consultant, Aptem Environmental and Infrastructure, for a construction oversight work order that will provide us, with the oversight necessary for working in a very sensitive environment such as the coastal system. As I had mentioned previously, we do have strict permit requirements, and our contract that we're seeking with Aptem Environmental Infrastructure would allow them to provide professional engineering and support services for the construction activities to take place. We do have the proposal, and these work order observation oversight work orders are typically handled hand in hand with a dune restoration project. At this point here, it would be the recommendation of staff to have the work order with Aptem Environmental and Infrastructure approved in the amount of $504,685.96 to provide that level of assistance for this upcoming project for the county.
Any questions of staff?
Motion to approve.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Moss. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Quentin. All right, moving on to H, Planning and Development Services, 12H1, revision to SHARP program funding schedule. Mr. Sobchak is back, and Chris is back, and even the MPO guy.
Everybody's here today. Good morning, Commissioners. Andy Sobchak, Director of Planning and Development Services. And what we have for you today is a revision to our SHARP program. In March of 2022, the board approved our SHARP program, and what that is taking our SHIP program and adding ARP, American Rescue Plan funds, to it to kind of raise the overall limits of money available. And this money is used to not only put people in houses, but also rehab existing houses or get them a new house and rehab it. So a couple different ways we use that money. It's no secret that, you know, house prices are continuing to rise and interest rates continue to rise. The little chart I have here on the left is just a nationwide mortgage payment average at the moment. You can see that's sharply up for a number of reasons. So what we would like to do is kind of raise the ARP piece of SHARP, raise that money that would be available to give to our applicants to get them in houses. We still have about $2 million of ARP funds left that are already earmarked for this program, and those have to be used, you know, in a relatively short time frame here, because if we don't use them, you know, potentially we would have to give that money back. So what we're proposing to do, this is the table that was approved previously, as I mentioned, in 2022. And what we've done is on the right-hand side of the column, or actually the middle column here, that's the ARP component. We've basically doubled the ARP component while keeping the SHIP part the same. And so on the far right, you see the numbers in red. Those would be the maximum awards we could give. So for example, for a rehab, we could, for a very low income or a low income person, give up to $140,000. So we did take these revisions to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. That was on October 25th. And the AHAC voted unanimously to approve these changes. So the final thing would be with board approval, then we can start actually using these new amended funding amounts.
Any questions, Vandy?
I don't have any questions. I just want to provide some background. The AHAC committee was very excited to be able to reutilize this ARP dollars in this way, get more money out there. I mean, I think if you look at it, even for a median income family, it provides up to $40,000 and purchase assistance and without rehab, more if there's rehab necessary. So, you know, that goes a long way with where the prices are in our community. So we were very excited to be able to do this and really grateful that staff came up with a way to reallocate those dollars and get that money out there.
Ms. Chair.
Yes, thank you. This is just a question regarding, as you may recall, with the exception of Commissioner Lohr, this was in December of 2022, we approved, this is the low-income housing tax credit program, and it was for up to $400,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds have been set aside as a potential funding match for qualified applicants to that program, and the Housing Trust Group submitted an application. I know it was denied last year. It's my understanding that it was resubmitted this year. We expected to hear back in October. We didn't, and I think the latest is we might hear back in December. My question is, with the $400,000 then, is that still reserved?
Commissioner, it's actually $340,000, and yes, it's still part of the allocation that was made for the ARP, out of ARP.
Okay,
I
so we
confirmed
still.
that with finance,
Okay,
or excuse me,
so
our
it's not-
budget
so,
office.
Approving this today would not affect that funding in case we do have this opportunity to actually build, because that was to build 79 units, 71 of which would be affordable to low-income households and 8 that would be affordable to extremely low-income households. So that would be a great thing. I hope that we will be able to build something. I think it's wonderful to help people, and we do, actually, we approved all this, this is it, for last Thursday. It was, totals almost $500,000. that was approved, and 5 of them were rehabilitation requests, and 1 was a down payment closing costs, and this is all SHIP and SHARP, so it's loans and grants. So, and I appreciate that. As was mentioned earlier, you know, we've been hard at work on it. We have new employees in the department and new computer programs to address this. There had been a backlog, but it's been moving through. So, but I really hope in the future that if we don't get this, and it's my understanding that this might be a lottery system with the Housing Trust Group to actually be able to build something. I'm happy that we're helping people to rehab existing homes that they're in or to provide down payment purchase assistance. But until I just have this sense that this is, onesies and twosies, and in 10 or 20 years, they're going to be back with the same problem again. You're going to need another rehab. So I really hope that at some point we'll be able to build something, to actually build something. So I'm hopeful that perhaps, is it a lottery to your
So,
knowledge?
yes, so the Florida Finance Housing Corporation, for a low-income housing tax credit project, a developer puts together a project. One of the requirements is a local match. If you don't have a local match, you don't stand well to enter, and then it's a lottery system. And it literally is. I mean, you hope that your project gets picked, and then once it gets picked out of the lottery, it's evaluated to see if the project's eligible, and then from the eligibility component, they go on to the ranking. And that's where that kind of match comes in. And it happens every year. But I think one of the things that occurs, or one of the things I want to note is, they're changing the amount of the awards related to our SHARP program. We're not requesting additional funding to fund the portion of the program, so it's not at the expense of the $340,000 commitment made in December of 2022.
Okay, wonderful. Well, if there are no other questions, I'll move
Well,
to.
I would like to just address a couple things that you said. One, I know that it can be very frustrating if you don't see large-scale affordable housing projects going up, numbering in 79 units or whatnot. But I think it's very important for our community that the onesie-twosie projects, as you call them, are equally as important because those are keeping residents in their home. A lot of those are seniors that don't have the ability to do new roofs, to put in upgraded windows. Windows alone can cost $20,000 to $30,000. And if you're on a limited income, there's absolutely no way you're going to be able to do that. And that provides you the ability to have energy efficiency, keeping your bills down, again, if you're on a limited income. So those are just as important. Secondly, we do have several projects coming online. I believe in a couple weeks, the triplex will be done. Gifford Gardens I know that took a long time, but we learned a lot in that process, and that's moving forward, and that's 21 units. Habitat has been very successful, and they are actually at a point where finding larger pieces of property to do projects is more difficult, which is people think is a bad thing, but what that has allowed them to do is move into do some redevelopment in the Sebastian area where they're doing small parcels, interspersing in the community. And I think that's really something that we've all talked about, trying to provide an equitable playing field for everyone instead of just one large-scale project. You see that in other areas, and you don't create as much of a sense of community with that as you can with some of the programs that we have here. And I think that the ability to now fund those almost 50% more is just fantastic and is going to be able to bring more to the table for our residents. The projects you're talking about, that's a separate funding pot, that's a separate process. A lot of those come with loans and incentives through the state. That's beyond what this particular project is, and our incentives have really focused on breaking down the barriers for those larger projects to occur in Indian River County and making the development process more streamlined for them so they can take the state and federal dollars, couple that with a better process that we have, and get those things going. So I just wanted to correct some of those things because I understand what you're trying to say, but I think that we have to look at the entire umbrella of our community, and what we are doing fits with what our community is is and has wanted, and we'll look at more incentives moving forward on how we can cultivate other projects.
This
That's
is
the goal
not
for next
just
year.
chipping, this is not chipping the tree bark. This is looking at the forest and moving the goalpost to affordable housing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in favor of this, by the way. I think I said that. So I am definitely in favor of this. And the other program, we voted on it in 2022. So I wanted to check on that to make sure that that was still available. That's all. It's not something I'm suggesting, just following up on. So I'll move to approve this. I think it's great, and thank you for your work on it.
I did want to say something to all the commissioners. I'm actively working with 3 affordable housing developers, and I've actually just put one of the affordable housing developers in contact with the school board because the school board is actively looking for housing for their teachers. So I know you guys don't see it, but if it's with the correct zoning and land use, it goes administratively. So we are actively working, and we do have a couple developers looking in to take advantage of the Live Local Act, which provides for affordable housing, and it's required by state law. So you may not see it, but it is actively happening in the background. Just want to give you guys a heads up.
Just to add to Chris's, and then we can move on, I'm sorry to keep harping on it, but I think there's a lot of misinformation about what the county is doing for affordable housing. And Chris and staff went to the housing conference like I did, but they spent a lot of their time there cultivating relationships with some of these affordable housing developers that we've had a hard time attracting to Indian River County, and really trying to see what they could do, how they could build those relationships, and we're starting to see that pay off. So there's a lot going on in the background, but when it comes to these projects or any project, you have to lay the base and plant the seeds and then water them, and then, they grow and you can take advantage. And that's just working my farm to city week back in. So we'll be harvesting our crops soon.
Yeah, and I would just like to add that, the SHIP program has been around for a while, but the pace at which we are processing folks and getting them into homes is really unprecedented, based on our entire history. So Chris and his staff have done a fabulous job. One side of the equation, you can throw more money at it, but the other side of the equation, you have to be able to deliver, and they're definitely delivering on this.
Any further questions of Andy?
Commissioner Laura does, I'm sorry, Commissioner Laura.
Andy, one thing of note of the $2 million of the ARP money, what's the plan going forward when that's exhausted? And the second question is, will we be able to maybe one day put these rates back so it would be more compatible? So this would be like a 2-year window we're looking at.
Yeah, so the SHIP program still will get funding just as it always has. And actually, the program generates its own income, which we just put back into the program. So this is, an extra push of money we got, and we're going to kind of clear our backlog of applicants and maybe start fresh, with our regular SHIP funding and not having that backlog of folks.
Right. You have over 50 in the hopper.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of Andy or staff? With that, your pleasure.
You pointed out funding, Commissioner Law, and again, we can go back to the early years of SHIP when we were proud to just get a little bit of work done. But I will say, as far as staff is concerned, you now have a full complement, and I see them every day working to move us in the right direction. It's not all about funding, it's about the amount of hours that you have to put in to get this all coordinated. It's not an easy task, and I just want to say thank you to the staff.
Thank you.
There was a motion.
They did? Boy, I missed that one.
That's all right.
Okay.
We
Commissioner Moss, you made the motion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Fleischer, second?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. All right, moving on to 12H2. This is the Federal Transit Administration Fiscal Year 2023 Triennial Review Final Report. And I see Brian Freeman here, also known as the MPO guys here. But before you start, I want to read the email that I received from David Powell, General Engineer of the U.S. Department of Transportation. He said, "Dear Chairman Urban, attached you will find the Federal Transit Administration's FTA fiscal year 2023 triennial review final report for the Indian River County Board of County Commissioners and the signed FTA cover letter. FTA would like to recognize that the county experienced no findings in the FTA's fiscal year 2023 triennial review, which is assesses compliance in 23 review areas. An FTA triennial review with no findings is a rare occurrence. The county staff that administers public transportation did a great job on preparing the fiscal year 2023 triennial review. Please let FTA know if you have any questions. You call David S. Powell, General Engineer." Awesome.
Yes, that's so wonderful. I mean, we're thrilled with that, Commissioner Ehrman. I'm Brian Freeman, the MPO Staff Director. Also have here today Karen Deagle, the CEO for the Senior Resource Association, and Chris Stevenson, the Director of Transportation at SRA. SRA is the operator of our public transportation system here in Indian River County. I did have a real brief presentation. Just a few things I wanted to highlight here. For 2023, it's really been a phenomenal year for transit in Indian River County. And let's see, okay. And this chart shows the trend in fixed route ridership over the last 20 years. I had three numbers I'd like to bring to your attention to highlight how phenomenal the year's been. And the first of those numbers is 1,261,408. That's an all-time record for ridership on the GO line. That was the ridership for the fiscal year that just ended on September 30th. And that's more riders than we had before the COVID pandemic. And there's very few transit systems in the country that can make that boast that we can here, the way our ridership is going. And, the second number I wanted to highlight is the number one. And again, the GO line is the most cost-efficient system in the state of Florida on an operating expense per passenger trip basis. And as you can see on the chart here, it's not even really close. And then on the triennial review, that is FTA's primary method of providing oversight to all the transit agencies around the country that receive funding from the federal government. And we go through this every 3 years. It's, for us locally, it's a very labor-intensive process. It takes many months. Countless hours are spent compiling all the different documentation that we provide to FTA and their reviewers and meeting with them. This year, it was kind of done as a series of virtual meetings over many months. In previous years, it concluded with a 2-day in-person site visit that was very intense. And the triennial review program is very comprehensive. It has 23 different areas that they look, including our legal requirements, our financial capacity, our technical capacity. They look at our maintenance program and procedures, our procurement records, and how we, our procurement system, make sure it's compliant. Also things like the Americans with Disabilities Act and how we're complying with that. And at the end of the review, FTA issues a final report for the triennial review. And this chart just shows the number of findings or deficiencies that we've had in our reviews over the years. Typically, there's 3, 4, or 5 findings. There are almost always something minor, but something that we have to make an adjustment or a correction for. We've had a couple of reviews in the past where there were a little more than 3 to 5 findings. And as Commissioner Ehrman just highlighted, the number for this year was 0. I mean, we were thrilled that we had no findings found with that. I think it really is a testament to the partnership that we have in place with SRA and their commitment to providing such an efficient and effective system and doing it the right way. And there were some photos that were sent to me just this morning. And thank you, Kim, for being able to bring up the latest version of the PowerPoint. But I think it's just demonstrated here. You see Karen riding the bus to work and then eventually to this meeting this morning. So, I think that just demonstrates SRA's commitment and the partnership that we all have together. And, I hope we can get 0 findings when we do this again in 3 years.
Any questions, MPO guy?
No, congratulations. Wow, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Brian? Andy? You say anything?
Yeah, just, you know, some of you may not know this, but I worked for the NPO for quite a number of years. And so I got to work firsthand with, you know, the staff, and it's just always been one of the most amazingly run groups. And the coordination with SRA is just really, really good. And I think this is kind of the culmination of that. You see, hey, we're doing everything right and just very well run.
Great job, great job. Karen, Chris, anything?
I'll just take a minute because I have to grab a bus. But no. Yeah, thank you. This year was great. The triennial review. My staff works really closely with the MPO, and we do have a great relationship. Absolutely. You know, we're in sync. We know what's going on, and I just want to shout out to my staff. I don't have a lot of involvement with the triennial review myself. Chris and his team, the CFO, Gabe's team, they really work hard. But it's a accumulation of over the years because it is a triennial review. It's 3 years, and you have to dot your I's, cross your T's at all times. And to be able to come up with this kind of a review is pretty amazing. So I'm glad we are being recognized for that, and I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Chris, anything? Great job.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, your pleasure. We need a motion on this?
No, that was just informational only, sir.
All right.
And good information.
To.
Yes. That's the
Anybody else? Andy?
quality.
Okay, all right, thank you, fellas. Thank you, Karen. All right. Moving on to special district boards, we have the Solid Waste Disposal District 15B1, approval of Solid Waste Disposal District preliminary budget hearing meeting in minutes of September 13th, and 15B2, approval of Solid Waste Disposal District final budget hearing meeting minutes September 20th, 2023.
Mr. Chair, move approval, both.
A motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Adams. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. 15B3, approval of Solid Waste Disposal District meeting minutes of October 3rd, 2023.
Mr. Chair, move.
I have a motion by Commissioner Fleischer, second by Commissioner Lohr. Anybody from the public wish to comment on the motion? Seeing none, Commissioners, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, with that, I think we're done. The next meeting will be November 21st, 2023. And Counselor, am I right? That'll be our organizational meeting, I think?
Yes, we will elect a new chair and vice chair at that meeting.
Okay, all right. Anything else? With that, Commissioners, we stand adjourned. Thank you.